Yo, YouTube, how's it going? Here again with the review on the Mini MoonBoard 2020 home gym version of the MoonBoard. This is the 8x8, not an 8x12, so it's 4 feet shorter, so it fits in, any garage, any house, or outdoors, freestanding. It's really nice. So this one's about $1,600, so it's pretty cheap compared to all the other boards out there. That's without the LEDs. I think with the LEDs, it's probably like closer to 2,000. That's a shipping and everything to the States. So yeah, it's a pretty good deal in my opinion compared to everything out there. So with that, let's get into this climbing dock that I made for the Mini MoonBoard. That we'll just go through it, and I'm going to compare it against the others. So it'll be a little detail. So yeah, let's get into it. So now this thing's got 4 hold layouts from Ben Moon. So they have the original 2016 layout. Then they made the MoonBoard Masters, and they added some wood holds and some bigger jugs. And then they made the MoonBoard Masters 2019, and they added 2 new wood sets. And yeah, so let's get into the actual holds before we get into everything, so we know what we're kind of talking about here. So they made these original school holds, these yellow ones here, and those are kind of modeled after, I think, what they were training on back in the 90s to do all the hard climbs, Ben Moon and Jerry Moffett. And I think when they were having their own woodies, and they were training on these types of small holds that they modeled these after. So these yellow, and then we got the white and the black holds. These are the original 2016 setup, okay? And it tells you right here on the website. We'll have a link too in the description to these sites, so don't worry about it. Now, these red ones, these are the ones probably the most hated. This is what ones they put on the MoonBoard Masters 2017 edition, and these wood, which are mirrored for like system training, which is cool. That was probably the coolest part of the 2017 setup, was the addition of the wood. They also made it where the normal board goes at 40, but now you can put it to 25 on the app, and a little easier. So they tried to get into make it a little more easier and have more wide range for all styles of climbers. Now in 2019, they added these wood holds more, and they're trying to, I think, go towards using the wood holds, and they're not like tension, where it's like these basic shapes, which there's nothing wrong with that, but they have more unique shapes, which is cool. So a lot of slopey crimps and pinches, and yeah, I like the holds a lot. So what the Mini MoonBoard does is cool, which is cool, is it uses the yellow and all the wood. So you're gonna mostly be training on wood holds, which I prefer because it kind of makes my skin better, at least for climbing outdoors. It's like tougher, and what I find when I climb indoors a lot and outdoors, like your skin just really gets beat down like harder, because it can't get used to one type of friction, I guess. So I don't know, training on wood seems to help with that, at least for myself. So let's go back to the dock here, and we'll move on. So we kind of went over the holds. Oh, one thing with the yellow holds, we have this is an Allen head bolt, and this is a flat head bolt. Now you're supposed to use an Allen head on the original yellow school holds. Just make sure you do. If you do, you won't have spinners. If you don't, you probably will. So these, use them for the wood holds, because they all have set screws. And yeah, so that's something I dealt with for months, was spinners, and I was putting tape behind it. And when I helped my friend build his, they only gave us these, so I must have gotten the wrong bolts or something. So keep a lookout for that. And also, like, the yellow holds are notorious for being like different. If you climbing a lot, and then you go on another board, you're like, whoa, F6 is like way different. So yeah, it's just something, I mean, just a little nuance to it. It's not like a deal breaker or anything. So let's go into the app. That's probably the coolest part of the whole moon climbing and the whole point of it, because you're like, well, why get it over a spray wall? Well, because it has an app, and you got a whole community. So that's one of the biggest ones too, as far as like a climbing app community goes. So coolest thing about the app is it's got the benchmarks, and those give you points towards your overall score if you climb them. And benchmarks are approved from Ben Moon. He's climbed them, and they're like, yes, this goes on the list. This is a V3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. And yeah, we think it's really good because all these people have climbed it and they really like it a lot. So yeah, it's cool because you can like, oh, I can set my own problem and maybe I can get it on a benchmark if enough people climb on it. So that's pretty cool. You could like become a setter basically. So that's motivating. And then doing benchmarks, like I said, you get points towards your score, and that's like fun. You can try to like compete against your friends and see where you stack up against other climbers, and you also see some of the top guys are also some of the setters. So you just like progress as you start getting used to the holds and the style and how certain moves go. They have a lot of this move where it's like this hand and then come match, a lot of those moves, and that was a weakness of mine. So climbing on the board a lot really balanced that part out for me. And doing all the benchmarks, like, it kind of helps you figure out which moves you suck at, I guess, because you'll do some that are easy and then a benchmark that feels impossible, even though it's like a V3 or 4, whatever grade you're climbing at. So it makes you realize, oh, I'm really not good on maybe a small crimpy move or this bigger move, I don't know. So it's good. Now the climbing style, we're kind of already getting into that. It's a little different than the gym version or the, you know, you have a big garage. If you can have, you know, fit an 8x12, I'd get the 8x12 and do the 2019 hold setup. But if you can't, get the home version, the Mini MoonBoard, and it's really good because the movements aren't quite as like MoonBoardy as the original, like jumping and are your feet cut or, you know, bigger moves. It's more smaller movements, more like technical because the holds are slopey, and really you know, more hard technical match finishes because they're trying to compact more moves in the smaller board. So that style is really good for me, being a taller climber. Working on that has really helped me, you know, without dabbing and climbing more locked off. So, you know, I like the climbing style. Now it does start at V3 on the Mini MoonBoard, and it doesn't have like a 25-degree version. Doesn't mean you can't set it, you know, to be adjustable to help you progress. That's kind of like what tension and Kilter's mentality is behind it. So you can obviously do that, you know, set it so you can do 25 and then progress into the 40-degree version. That's no problem. Yeah, so now the rules of the whole climbing, it's pretty, I'm not going to get too deep into all these details, but it's basically you got to match. You want to be on hold 6 or below. So let's say you started on this, you'd have to you know, start matching on it. If we started on 6 and 6C, then you'd start both hands. And let's say you finished on C and A, you need to finish on those and hold for 3 seconds. And then you can use any of the foot chips on the first 6-inch kicker that they have. So any of the slopey feet, you can use those, and then it's basically your feet follow where your hands were, and then you finish with the match. So it's usually like pull on, do a move, like maybe 3 moves, and then you have like 2 match moves. So you can get in like 3 to 5, 6, 7 moves, even on this little board, and they're really cool moves. So it's really fun. So let's get into the different hold setups so we can see how it kind of like stacks up against the other boards and see how many benchmarks it has, how many problems, and you know which ones are the best and worst in my opinion. So we already went through the sets. Let's go through what they actually look like. So this is the MoonBoard 2016, the first one. It's closed to opening up new problems. So that means, you know, the 45,000 or so we have here, can't add to it, but they have 436 benchmarks, which is the most, obviously. And it's, I think, in my opinion, it's got one of the best hold setups. I climb in this one a lot in my gym back at the coast, and this one is only has the black and white holds. I don't have the yellow school holds on it. We put jugs there for easier climbing. Really great movements and like classic benchmarks that, you know, people will, probably a lot of people have climbed on. You know, they've been climbing on this for a while. So this is obviously the oldest one, and really great setup. Next one after that was the 2017. Like I said, they added the wood and the red holds. People aren't too big of a fan of this one. It doesn't mean that it's not good or anything like that. Great, the 25-degree, you know, version that they have on the app, so you can do climbs on that, that's great, but it just, the holds, the way it's set up, it's just not as fun to climb on. It doesn't have as good benchmarks for the higher level, you know, V6 and beyond. So just keep that in mind. I think if you're going to do anyone, do this MoonBoard Masters 2019 right here. This one's awesome. It's got all the wood holds, the best of the black and the white holds, and you know, most of probably all the yellows. I've climbed this one a little bit, and man, I really liked it. It was my first intro into the wood hold set B and C, and grabbing those, and that's when I was like, whoa, I really want a MoonBoard. I really want to fit one, and was thinking about building it outside and everything, and then boom, they announced the 8x8. So I ordered it, and it took like 6 months to come. Doesn't take that long anymore, so don't worry about that. I think we're just having some supply issues. So, but I've been climbing it like 6 months now, and I'm loving it. Really getting used to this different style compared to the other MoonBoards. So let's get to the let's see how many benchmarks actually. 268, yeah, for the MoonBoard Masters, so that's good. This one has 285. See the 436. You know, so you're still getting, like, I mean, 6,000 total problems. Like, problems doesn't mean it's bad. Benchmarks just give you points towards your ranking, you know, so that's why they're popular and climbed on a lot, but just the regular problems are great as well, so don't have to only climb benchmarks. So this Mini Moon, it's already got almost 2,000, and it's got 173 benchmarks, so that's really good. I think I've almost climbed every one up to B6, I think now. So keep working my way through them, and we're posting videos on them too, so we'll keep posting those. I think we're like halfway through the V4, so we'll get those up. So let's just think, like, you know, why did I get this over other boards? I mean, I do have the Kilter Board getting built right now behind me, but that wasn't even out when I got this one, so I got it just because it fit, and I really like the MoonBoard app the most, because that's, like I said, it's really motivating and fun to do the whole, like, benchmarks and trying to set climbs and do that. So it's really fun to share and do that type of climbing. And I really like the almost 2,000 climbs that it has, you know, just for the dollar cents, like $1 a climb that you get for everything, for what you pay for. So I really think this is better training than you know, spray wall, because, you know, spray wall, you get stuck in doing like moves that are comfortable or fun or whatever. Not to mean that that's not a good way to train, but if you really want to figure out where you're not good and what you need to work on, climbing on these benchmarks will help you, I think, pinpoint it. It'll help me, and it'll also like show you, like, oh, okay, wow, like maybe I wasn't pushing myself hard enough and I'm sticking in my wheelhouse. And climbing, you know, with the more like community, you're really going to help you like pinpoint what you need to work on. So I really like that about the board. So we'll probably end it with that. I'm going to have some footage of some close-ups of the holds, and you can just look over that. And then, yeah, if you got any questions, feel free to ask, and we'll have all these links in the description here for the other boards.